Well, it was during COVID.
Tough times rarely are singular.
I was home recovering from breast cancer. I had a double mastectomy.
Hence the phrase, when it rains, it pours.
I had taken a huge cut in pay based on COVID.
The storm of 2021 hit Laura Walsh especially hard.
And I needed the money to help pay my bills, my medical bills.
So she looked to her biggest asset, her home, for a little financial help, searching for refinancing offers online.
And out of nowhere, I received a text from a company.
A text offering Walsh a deal. Sign this contract letting us, MV Realty, sell your home if and when you're ready to sell, and we'll give you cash now.
It was $1,500 for basically doing nothing. It took care of some small things that at least got me some relief.
About a year later, Walsh decided to sell her home. So she reached out to the company, MV Realty, to get it on the market.
I couldn't find or contact any of them when it was time to sell my house.
She says phone numbers were disconnected. Emails went unreplied.
I tried to look them up online, and the only thing I could find was an office listed down in Centennial. And I went down there and there was nobody there. It was a small, empty, storefront.
We went there too.
Hey guys, is MV Realty based in here?
Nope, she told me not here.
But based in Florida, known for this, Homeowner Benefit Agreement. In exchange for a small amount of cash up front, this agreement gives MV Realty the exclusive right to list your home, meaning that they get thousands of dollars in commission when you sell it. Now, if you do go through another real estate agent to sell your home, this contract still guarantees that MV Realty pockets 3% of the sale. And it says this agreement is a covenant on the land, meaning even if the homeowners die, their successors are still on the hook. And to make sure everyone knows about this agreement, MV Realty files a memorandum with the clerk and recorder. Then they just wait.
I just thought they went away.
Unable to contact MV Realty, Walsh listed her home with another agent, found a buyer too. The home went under contract, and then
the very next day, I received an email with a lawsuit saying breach of contract.
The contract showing that MV Realty was entitled to 3% of Walsh's sale price, nearly $20,000.
I mean, they literally did nothing for that money.
Walsh is by no means alone. We scoured county property records and found more than 900 of these agreements.
900? Wow.
More than 900 Colorado homeowners who signed up for the Homeowner Benefit Program between 2021 and 2023.
They may have signed it and not know what the ticking time bomb they're sitting on.
I know better. I know better.
Ponce Chavez is no stranger to financial contracts.
I was in banking since 1977. I knew a lot of the scams that were going on out there.
Yet she also got a text from MV Realty and signed that same agreement.
I just deposited the check and paid some bills.
When she went to refinance her home, the memorandum filed with the clerk and recorder halted the deal.
I was duped. It doesn't feel good.
MV Realty's agreements have ticked off a lot of people in real estate across the country. 6 states sued the company in the past year. Here in Colorado, MV's listing contracts got the attention of state lawmakers.
It's designed to be predatory. The intent is to do as little work for as much money as possible.
But while they call these agreements predatory, they also realized they were technically legal.
While I think it was clear to everybody that they were violating the intent and the spirit of Colorado real estate law, they weren't violating the letter.
Senate Bill 77.
So Democratic State Senator Nick Heinrichsen
bad practices
sponsored legislation to ban them going forward.
To not allow a recordable lien.
It passed with bipartisan support.
That passes unanimous.
Good news for homeowners moving forward. Bad news for the 900 people who've already signed.
It's incredibly difficult for legislation to impact contract law retroactively, and this legislation does not.
Bad news for people like Ponce Chavez.
They didn't grandfather it in.
They all signed an agreement that's effective for 40 years.
40 years? 40 years? Good Lord, no. 40 years?
When Chavez learned that, she told us she'll have to die in her current home.
It's just something that we have to live with now unless we could find a way to dump them, without paying them $15,000, because I don't think that they deserve it.
Some we've talked to have taken their house off the market after threats from MV Realty. Others, like Laura Walsh, felt pressure to pay up.
It's completely unscrupulous and taking advantage of people, especially at the time when they came after me.
In the end, Walsh paid $9,000 to the real estate agent who did all the work to sell her home, and nearly $20,000 to MV Realty for doing nothing.
We work too hard to make the money we do to pay for the homes that we have. It's the American dream, and to me, it was the American nightmare.
Please take notice.
Jonathan Mead has lived in this Colorado Springs home for 6 years now.
Under Chapter 11,
And in November of 2023,
in further accordance with the notice procedures order,
got a letter about his house full of legal mumbo jumbo.
Do you understand what any of that means?
not really, no.
The letter explains Jonathan is part of a bankruptcy proceeding, a bankruptcy filed by a company called MV Realty, a company we've told you about before.
I think at the time, like when you're in that mindset of desperation and you're trying to just maintain your mortgage payment.
Mead signed MV Realty's Homeowner Benefit Agreement, a contract that gave him a little over $1,000 up front in exchange for a promise. If he ever decided to sell his home, he would use MV Realty as his agent.
I wasn't at my highest and best and thinking clearly, and I was acting out of desperation. I needed to pay my bills. I needed to feed my animals.
It seemed like a good deal at the time, until he realized he was locked into a 40-year agreement.
And then I saw your story on 9 News, and I was like, wait a minute.
Mead is one of 900 Colorado homeowners we found who signed on with MV Realty. We found them because MV Realty files documentation about those contracts with county clerks, telling anyone looking at the property that MV Realty will receive 3% of the home's value if that property ever sells. And even if a homeowner dies, their heirs are still bound by that agreement.
I feel like I got taken advantage of, and I'm not alone in that.
Colorado legislators banned these types of contracts earlier this year, and MV Realty faces lawsuits in 7 states, with attorneys general calling these agreements predatory.
This isn't right. This is fraudulent. It's predatory.
And now, bankrupt.
And I got the notice in the mail for the bankruptcy filing, and I thought, well, maybe this is a way for me to void this contract.
In early November, MV Realty filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, a petition to try to keep the company alive while it reorganizes. In that filing, MV Realty lists about 750 active agreements with Colorado homeowners as assets, since they're guaranteed at least 3% commission if a home sells.
My first reaction was like, hallelujah, this fraudulent company is going to be held accountable by the United States of America.
Bankruptcy courts and equity relief is a really complicated topic.
Conrad Cicatello is the director of DU's School of Finance. He says these letters are really meant for anyone who is owed money from MV Realty, not for people who are considered an asset.
I've looked at a lot of different kind of consumer finance issues in my career, and this one is very novel.
Mead contacted MV Realty on his own, hoping this bankruptcy might just get them to tear up his agreement. They told him no. Quote, the bankruptcy filing does not have any immediate impact on your agreement with MV.
Still a contract, is still valid, it still stands.
It is a sticky wicket.
Cicatello says the bankruptcy likely won't get anyone out of their agreement with MV Realty. What might, he says, is one of those lawsuits in another state, especially if it finds that contract null and void. His best advice, give it time.
If you can wait, I think that's probably the best solution.
In the real estate world, nothing like this exists outside of it. I've never heard it.
Stephen Pilkington first came across MV Realty when he stepped in to sell a house in Parker.
They were not able to sell it. They were not able to get an offer. They weren't able to get even many showings on the property.
Pilkington's team did manage to broker a deal, Then they came across this homeowners benefits agreement filed by MV Realty, a contract guaranteeing MV Realty a commission whether they sell the property or not.
My first reaction was like, this can't be legal. This doesn't seem like it's legal.
Last year, lawmakers made it illegal to create contracts like these. However, Steve on Your Side found more than 900 people in Colorado had already signed these agreements between 2021 and 2023.
900? Wow.
Homeowners like Laura Walsh, who already sold their homes and paid MV Realty thousands of dollars.
I mean, they literally did nothing for that money.
While many others are still tied to them.
I was duped. It doesn't feel good.
I feel like I got taken advantage of, and I'm not alone in that.
Dora first received multiple complaints in 2022 that MV Realty was engaging in dishonest dealing, violating rules and regulation, conflict of interest, and prohibited compensation. 2 years later, Dora has now posted disciplinary action on their broker license lookup, including an order that MV Realty permanently surrenders their license within 45 days.
Which to me seems very interesting because this contract is based on them having the ability to sell it, which now they've lost the ability to sell it in the state of Colorado. And if they lose the ability to sell the property legally, is the contract still in place?
Which leaves hundreds of Colorado homeowners wondering, will they still be held to the terms of these agreements?
Right now, we're pushing to close ideally in the first week of September. Depending on what comes out of this, I probably advise my client to speak with legal counsel to see if this MV Realty is just null and void.
I'm desperate, literally.
Judith Farkas de Zelaya called us as the clock was winding down. Her mother passed away in February. Judith was working to sell Mom's home. She hired a real estate agent, got the home under contract, and then she says she got an email from a company called MV Realty.
They contacted me and said, hey, we noticed you're selling your house and this contract is in place.
This contract, which MV Realty calls a homeowner benefit agreement. Judith's mom, Mildred, signed it back in 2022.
They would pay her a little over $2,000, and then if and when she decided to sell the house, they would have the privilege of selling it for her. She never sold the house, so I thought that was the end of the matter.
But it wasn't the end. That agreement goes on to say it's valid for 40 years and not tied to the person who signed it, but rather to the property. And it promises MV Realty a 3% share of the commission on a sale, even if another broker sells the home. In Judith's case, that's a lot.
They are proposing to take about a $30,000 commission out of the proceeds from the sale of the house.
Judith is one of about 900 people Steve on Your Side found in Colorado who are currently in limbo. Limbo because while the state legislature banned this kind of contract a few years ago, and state regulators this fall revoked MV Realty's license to sell real estate in Colorado, these 900 people all signed contracts before the change in state law, meaning that even though MV Realty can't legally sell homes in this state, they still technically can claim that commission.
I feel like I'm being robbed, just absolutely robbed.
I've never seen a contract purporting to lock somebody into a brokerage listing for 40 years. That's a first for me.
Mark Cohen is a real estate attorney and an expert on contracts.
That contract is essentially unenforceable because MVR doesn't have the legal ability to fulfill its end of the bargain.
The problem, he says, in order to prove that, you'll need a court to declare it.
So the question the homeowner has to ask themselves is, what's cheaper? Do I want to spend money to file an arbitration to get this declared to be void? Is it cheaper just to pay MVR and get on with my life?
There is another way some people have seen their contracts torn up. Attorneys general in several states have sued MV Realty. Most recently, the state of California got a judge to issue a preliminary injunction, helping more than 1,000 Californians escape their MV Realty contracts. Here in Colorado, that doesn't seem to be happening because each time we've asked the Attorney General's office about MV Realty over the last year, we get the same one-sentence response that the office can't confirm or discuss investigations. Judith, she found another way out.
She had been experiencing memory issues for years prior to signing that.
Her mom, Mildred, had Alzheimer's disease back in 2022 when she signed that contract. When Judith mentioned that to MV Realty's legal team, then poof, the contract was gone days before she was due to close.
I would like the Attorney General of the state of Colorado to shut MV Realty down now. We shouldn't have to suffer these predatory business practices that are well documented and well known.
And this was during one of those down periods.
As the pandemic raged in early 2021, Sean Kennedy said his contract consulting business was drying up, so the offer he got in the mail was tempting. Sign what MV Realty called a homeowner benefit agreement, promising to use the company to list his home if he ever sold and receive $1,400. Money needed at the time.
My intention at the time was I love my house. I was never going to leave my house, so it didn't bother me to take their money because I was never going to need the real estate services.
It wasn't until after he met a notary to sign the agreement that he saw the fine print.
That this is a 40-year agreement.
Did you see that at the time when you signed it?
Not when I signed it, no. And again, it was my fault. I mean, this isn't something where I was a consumer that was scammed or duped.
But it didn't mean he wasn't ticked. So he tried to reach out to the company to ask them more.
I'm not even going to be alive in 40 years. You know, what happens if I die in this house? Does that mean they still get the listing? They've never responded to any of my inquiries.
So he followed from the sidelines, saw Steve on Your Side's reporting. We found more than 900 Colorado homeowners signed these agreements, which state lawmakers banned moving forward in early 2023. MV Realty no longer has a real estate license in Colorado, yet the company is still trying to enforce these contracts, which is relevant to Sean now that he's decided to retire and move out of the country. It's why he sent us an email MV Realty sent him this week.
Up until you got this email,
it was going to be trouble to sell this house.
The email invites customers to stay on board, still use MV Realty, but if they're uncomfortable,
if you give us our money back that we paid you, we'll let you out of the contract.
The email says homeowners have until May 5th to contact the company and pay their promotion back. The reason for the sudden change? MV Realty says homeowners are confused, and apparently it's our fault.
It says, the homeowner benefit agreement and the homeowner benefit program have been widely misunderstood in the media, causing many MV Realty customers unneeded distress. Did your distress go away?
No, my distress is very much present. I'm afraid that their whole offer is going to be yanked out from under me, and they're going to say, "No, it was a trick. You're still in this contract for the next 40 years," and they're going to laugh maniacally, and I'm going to have to call you back.